Hey, welcome back to the Notcast. Another episode, number 385. Today is Sunday, 19th May 2024, and I am in a shock horror moment outside the house. So I'm actually sat in the garden, a thing I do a lot on Sundays, Saturdays, after work when the weather's good. Sit in the garden with a nice record and a good book, or a good record and a nice book. It depends on how you want to put it. My book, don't you judge me, Star Trek Movie Memories by William Shatner. And since today is a Sunday and I'm experimenting, firstly, just want to prove to you that I do actually leave the house. And secondly, not that you necessarily care, I'm going to be doing another random record Russian roulette with stuff chosen by one of the humans that lives with me. Yes, other humans do live with me. So let's go in here and see how it goes. I don't know what's going to happen, so I'm going to pull a book out and see what it is. Oh, David Bowie, I Was There. So this book is by Red Planet Publishing, I think. Oh, it's got one of my prescriptions in. Oh, that's exciting. Let's see how old this prescription is. Quite old. Doesn't actually tell me. Oh my word, that's 6 years old now because it has my age in there. So this book is eyewitness accounts from people who were there seeing David Bowie in the flesh. Now, I hadn't expected to see this, but this is a book that I'm in. And if we go to, and let's just quickly check, Glastonbury, year 2000, I was there. And there you go, I was there. Mark Reed, that's a picture of me shaving at the Glastonbury Festival in the year 2000, and me writing about going to see David Bowie at Glastonbury Festival, which I did do. And my overriding memory of this now is I really just wanted to have a sit down because I'd been stood up for 4 days at Glastonbury with very little money. I was wearing, because Glastonbury had a reputation for having terrible weather, I had bought some, the industrial forensic outfits that people have that they use for, cleaning up murder sites or doing huge bits of house painting. And I thought, right, okay, so the thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to buy those, and I'm going to buy some wellies because the weather at Glastonbury is notoriously bad. In fact, I remember 1997 when the stage sank just before Monaco played, and I thought, well, if I wear those clothes, then no matter what happens, I can peel off my clothes, put them in a bin and forget about them, which I did. So there's some footage of Glastonbury 2000 with me wearing a white one-piece zip-up kind of painter's outfit with a dust mask looking, for all it is, like a bootleg alternate, and pointing at the camera during Pet Shop Boys' performance of It's a Sin. Don't look it up, it's not very exciting. I have a tiny little dot right in the left-hand corner. But this is David Bowie, I Was There, a book where people write about their experiences of having been there and having seen David Bowie in the flesh. And this is the only time I saw David Bowie in the flesh was Glastonbury 2000, and it's in this book. So if you want to read my writings about it, get this. Wow, that's exciting. I wasn't expecting that at all. So second one, let's have a quick look what's in here. Again, I don't know what this is. This is a 7-inch single. This is brilliant choice. Hopefully you can see that correctly. That is the theme from EastEnders. They're called Anyone Can Fall in Love, produced by Simon May, and I think there's a vocal version, I think. Oh, look at that logo. How lovely is that? That's a lovely logo there, BBC, isn't it? Really lovely. And this drum intro, the duff, the duff, on EastEnders. The drums on this thing are performed by a drummer called Graham Broad, who I think played in Procol Harum, also performed in Roger Waters' post-Pink Floyd band for many years. And therefore, if you've seen Roger Waters play live before 2017 or thereabouts, you would have seen the drummer that did the EastEnders Duffs playing the songs of the Pink Floyd. Quite an experience. And don't tell anyone. I quite like watching EastEnders, but I would never want to live there because it's such a miserable, grim square there where everybody is unhappy and you can't have good things, because as soon as something good happens, something bad it's inevitably going to happen, isn't it? That's how EastEnders works. Sit there, this is why we can't have good things, you know? It just absolutely is brilliant and terrible. Right, next one, DVD. Oh, Michael Mann's Manhunter. Why it's not called Manhunter with two N's, I don't know. So this is the first of the Hannibal Lecter films, 1986. I think this has Brian Cox, who you will now know from Succession and other things, playing Hannibal Lecter, as also featuring, let me just guess, William Peterson. Now, William Peterson has been in a number of other things, and he's one of those actors that just plays a cop when you see him, in the same way that these days when you see there's some guys and you just go, you're just playing cops, aren't you? Like, what's his name? Is it Chiglis, the guy that's in Breaking Bad, that's also in some of the other cop shows? And you kind of go, it's just one big interconnected universe where there's only about 4 cops in the world, and they're solving all the world's crimes. And it also seems to me that there's a disproportionate amount of TV shows and films about, cops and crime, because firstly, murder's exciting. Who hasn't wanted to murder somebody at some point and not done it? And there's the social justice orator Dick Wolf, who does CSI, calls it copaganda. The idea that all the police are fabulously competent, they can solve all the world's problems and catch all the baddies, which, as we know, frankly, is not the case. The second part of that is if you looked at the proportional number of cop shows for actual cops that there are, sorry, I might want to call you police people instead, but cops is shorter. There must be like 3 TV shows for every cop in the world. At least every cop in the world must have at least 1 camera crew following them around all times. There must be a dramatisation of it, and there's also got to be a retrospective documentary about a case, especially if it's on Channel 5, or as I like to call it, the Fighty Channel, where you end up just following police around with a camera all day long, and you end up finding out what a policeman's favourite crisps are. Obviously, their favourite band is, of course, has to be Busted. So there you go. Manhunter is a good film, not an amazing film. I think you can really see when you see how directors approach different works, or directors film the same novel. You can really see the difference between the people in terms of how they work and how they operate. So, for example, you can watch Manhunter, then Silence of the Lambs, or Red Dragon, which are both the same story but told from different angles. You can kind of go, well, what does that tell you about the difference in director styles, around interpretations, around the way in which you can go through certain things? So yes, really interesting film, absolutely well worth watching. I've done an episode about Michael Mann films that I've ranked previously. Can't remember where this is in the list. Not the worst, because I think the worst was Ali, and not the best, because the best is The Keep, one of my favourite films of all time. Also, this film comes in 2 versions. There's a theatrical version and a director's cut. Although, of course, Michael Mann, his director's cut largely involved taking out one word, changing one scene, and changing the songs in one other scene, and then go, perfect. Whereas before, it was an abomination. Of course, this isn't strictly true. So that's Manhunter. Let's go for CD. The Cure show. I love The Cure, as many of you know. I have seen them many times, about 20 times, 22, 23 times, which as a teenager, the idea that I would get to see the bands that I love once, let alone 30, 40, or in my case of the Wonder Stuff, 168 times, it's astronomical, unfeasible, and doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Yet I get to be able to stand in the same room as the bands that I love, with people that have the same music taste as me, and experience those songs and be able to unlock and access all the emotions that you have. Show was recorded in Detroit, I think. It was somewhere like that. Maybe the Starplex Amphitheatre, I could be wrong, or some gardens or something, in late June, over 2 nights in 1992. It was released as a film in the theatres. I saw it in the theatres, which has one extra scene that's not on the home retail release, which is the band walking off stage as the credits roll. You're not missing very much, because really what you're seeing is the back of, Paul Thompson and Boris Williams and Simon Gallup's heads as they kind of walk into the darkness at the edge of the set. and that was a 90-minute version, which is the main part of the main set, which is the soundtrack on here on 2 CDs. The home video release contains an extra 5 songs, which are To Wish Impossible Things, Primary, Why Can't I Be You, Boys Don't Cry, and a stonkingly good version of A Forest, which still hasn't been released. You'll probably hear birds, by the way, because I am in a garden, and I will talk about what else happens in the garden later. Well, in fact, right now I have a cat down here that is sunning himself, and he's spluting out like that, showing everyone all his relevant bits. Shameless fella. You can also hear a plane up here, because I live near a World War II airfield that now is a private airfield that has some recommissioned flyable planes, Spitfires. I think there's a T-51. I think you can, get a flight in a Spitfire for £3,250 if that's what you really want to do. If you want to do that, that's fine, but just give the cash to me. I'd appreciate it more. And oh my word, put that away, dude. Sorry, he's just rolling. Could you hear that? He's just rolling around like nobody cares about whether a cat has his bits on display. I also live, well, you've got the planes, I've got trains, I've got a train station over there. I can get to the train station in 4.5 minutes from my front door. And automobiles, because I live near a main road, and neighbours and birds and cats and things like that. It's really relaxing to sit out here on a Sunday and have a lovely time. And just fallen out of here is a folded out advert for show from, I think, probably Virgin Megastores, that you get a free ticket. You get a ticket to see the film when you buy a Cure CD, and you can also buy some other Cure CDs here as well. So this is folded up and inside the CD. The CD came in 2 forms. Show it's came in a 2-disc version with the main set featuring the whole show, and then there was a second version that was released in America that only had was missing 5 songs, and was available as an EP, also called Sideshow, which featured the extra tracks. So this is recorded at the Auburn Hills Palace in Michigan, which I think is in Detroit, in 1992, just because I had to open the booklet and get back in there. This disc is also one of the ones that are affected by the criminals at PDO in Preston, who used a cheap lacquer and caused the discs to flake off and oxidize. So when people are saying, oh no, it's a myth, it doesn't happen, it just means that you've never bought a CD manufactured by PDO in Preston between about 1988 and 1994, early 1994, when they realised there was a problem. My copy of KLF's, or Justified Answers, Moo Moo Shag Times on CD, was manufactured in Sweden and is therefore extremely rare, because it wasn't actually one of the ones that's bronzed. The vast majority of copies of KLF Shag Times were manufactured by PDO in, I think, Preston or Blackburn or somewhere, and are flaky and bronzed and gold and don't work anymore, so therefore it's quite an annoyance. So that Show by The Cure, I saw the band on that tour once at Nottingham Rock City and again at Finsbury Park, 1993, the only show by the 4-piece version of the band, which was Boris, Perry, Simon and Robert, and not actually with Paul, who had left. So Blu-ray choice, Pacific Rim by I think Guillermo del Toro, and this is fabulous. I love a good action movie. I like movies that are smart in a dumb way or stupid in a smart way, if that makes sense. Pacific Rim totally ticks that box. Giant robots smack off with kaiju, i.e. Godzilla, or bootleg Godzilla, because you can't use Godzilla for copyright purposes. But to all intents and purposes, this and the King Kong and the Godzilla films all kind of exist in roughly the same universe. It's just not officially said so. I really enjoy this film, directed by Guillermo del Toro, who walks the fine line between brilliance and absurdity, so can come out with a film like Pan's Labyrinth or Kronos, for example, and then come out with something like Pacific Rim that is robot monster smashy explodey. There's a sequel to Pacific Rim. It's not very good. I have no memory of its existence apart from the fact that it's not very good, and I prefer to think of this being the only film that's actually made. Now, some sequels, and I'd like to thank the Sequelisers podcaster for this, some sequels are basically fan fiction that's legitimised. So, for example, Happy Death Day to You, which I don't think has any of the original people that were involved in the creation of Happy Death Day to You, is a fantastic sequel. And then you have absolutely absurd bits of fan fiction, like the Hellraiser movies, where people put in extra bits and then go, well, I guess we need a Cenobite in here and then we can make another Hellraiser movie. And you kind of go, bullshit. But that is for a separate podcast called Sequelizers that I like greatly and applaud and rate. And right, so here is the last one, the last bit from the selection. Mogwai, The Hawk is Howling on vinyl. This is a fabulous album. If I remember correctly, Mogwai do have some of the finest song titles of all time, and if you can't see this, it's because of the high contrast between the sun and the moon and everything else that goes with it. So yeah, it opens with I'm Jim Morrison and I'm Dead, and then Batcat, and songs like Daphne and the Brain, and you kind of sit there and go, does that mean anything, that title? And the point is, it doesn't have to mean anything, it just has to be fun. And so yeah, so I like Mogwai. I think post-rock is a fantastic genre. I rate it highly. I know some people don't, but to me, sound, texture, production and mood is just as important as song and melody. No one can really do a cover version of a Mogwai song, because that's not really how it works. A huge chunk of it comes down to the sound. Then, for example, I Love You, I'm Going to Blow Up Your School, one of the best song titles of all time. Although Thank You, Space Expert is pretty good as well. This is an original 2008 pressing of the album. Really enjoy it. Not one of the more recent coloured vinyl reissues. I'm not sure what it is really, but it's a fabulous piece of gorgeous instrumental rock. There you go, that's my selection. Well, that was good, wasn't it? I enjoyed that. Hopefully you did too. Nice, short and sweet one. I will be back later on with an album theme one, probably tonight. But if not tonight, then tomorrow. So in the meantime, take care of yourselves and each other. If you have any questions, do put them into the comments section. And stay beautiful, beautiful ones. See you later. Bye.